the floor to Stephane Arditi for his presentation. The floor is yours, Stephane.
Great, thanks, Mr. Kremlis. Good afternoon or good morning to all. Thank you very much for the invitation. Just a first quick introduction to who we are. So the European Environmental Bureau is the greatest, largest network of environmental citizens organizations. So we've got a very official name, but in fact, we are a civil society organization. I think this is another way of presenting the circular economy. I would not insist on that because Shardul, I think, introduced the really key aspect of not restricting circular economy to recycling, which we too often tend to do. Really, the inner loops, I think, are really the driver of the future. And for one very clear reason is that once you've recycled something, in a way, you've wasted the opportunity of the inner loops. When you've captured the potential of one inner loop, you haven't wasted the potential of further down the line circular economy practices such as recycling. So the idea is really to make the most out of each unit of material or energy input in our economy. And if we go too quickly to the recycling, we lose the business and saving opportunity around the inner loop. Why it's an emergency, I think Shardul expressed it very well. He showed that it's not only about carbon, but I'd like just to re-emphasize the message. First, we all know that we've got a carbon budget that is shrinking, and that the embodied emission in our material extraction and usage is growing because the material use is growing, but also because for some of material, we need to dig deeper or we've got a bit more intensive practices in terms of carbon emission. This is an extract from the OECD report that Shardul referred to, and it's just to say that per capita, per day, we've drastically increased, the material consumption. And of course, that means that the embodied emission is also growing drastically. And last, unfortunately, the latest report we have at worldwide level tend to show that we are only 8.6% circular. That means that basically, compared to, for example, energy efficiency improvement, when it comes to resource efficiency, circular economy, we are very far from having established practices to really go circular. Really a very essential point when it comes to circular economy, according to us, is this idea of starting with design. And it's not only design of product, but it's also design of services, design of system. And why it is so important is just because it's well known in the industries that at design stage, you still have a lot of opportunity to change things, to optimize things. But as you go more toward the implementation of the project, and notably when you start having invested in the capacity tools and technology, then the ability to change things is reduced drastically. So that's why investing more in design and designing out waste, trying to design the product so that it minimizes downstream and upstream impact of the supply chain is so essential. This is another way of presenting the business model that Shardul referred to. This is extracted from the OECD, but I think it gives another outlook on what are the mechanisms to activate the circular economy. The first one is really closing the resource loop. That's what we have in mind when, for example, we think about reuse product or recycling. But it's also important to slow down the resource loop. That means trying to extend the longevity of product, trying to increase, the asset of, for example, of a building and the use of a building. So, for example, a school after school time can also become a center for cultural or social activities. And it's also about narrowing the resource loop. And that's really where I think business are more used to this, is really about really optimizing, the natural resource use and making the best out of the raw material that enter into the economic cycle. So I decided to finish with 2 slides on what the business can do. And I'm not myself a business expert, but I think it's important that we can figure out the different possibility. So first is there are plenty of possibility in integrating circular economy and sustainable development goals in the way we design product, in the way we select material. So here I refer to a couple of examples. I think something that is, for the moment, for me, completely neglected is the power of procurement. When we speak about procurement, generally speaking, we refer to green public procurement, but we tend to forget that private procurement is extremely powerful in terms of unleashing the potential for circular product, for circular system. Because if every company start to say, well, I will pay attention to the environmental impact and circularity potential of the material I buy to make my own product, that would unleash a tremendous potential. And finally, I think Chadul referred to this about service delivering. So, thinking product as service, but also having adaptable, reversible installation, for example, when we build infrastructure. And I think if we could really embed the circularity into some of the key, I would say, direction of a company, like health and safety and environment, like corporate social responsibility, like all the continuous improvement, Lean Six Sigma. And this could become like at the core of how a company operates, then we will again unleash further the potential. Finally, I think ideally what a business could do is to create what we call an ecosystem. And when we speak about an ecosystem, it's about thinking beyond the boundaries of the company, beyond what is completely under control of the company. But so that could be about value chain integration. That is what we call deliver total value for consumer, where the consumer can also appreciate, the environmental benefits of going to a certain brand. It's all about the partners network, and not only business partner, but also authorities, civil society organization. And finally, it's also to engage in progressive policy. So as a final remark, I'd like to say that for me, the key to unleash circular economy potential is to really reshape competition rules. That means making sustainable and circular solution the new norm, the default approach, and trying to make sure that the circularity to the bottom price, to the bottom performance, will not undermine the efforts of companies that really want to take part to a more sustainable and circular society for tomorrow. Thank you very much for your attention, and looking forward to the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arditi, for this very interesting presentation. Indeed, the EIB is the voice of the European civil society, and in that respect, you reflect the views and the needs for circularity to become something at the level of our citizens and to make our citizens circularly aware.